I just want to understand this. There are instances, where disputes arise between spouses and the extended family in-laws, such as in this very case that we're handling or we're talking about in terms of Lumba's family and the spouses. Now, how much legal power does a spouse or a child have over funeral arrangements compared to sibling and parents? Has it got to do with the matrilineal or the patrilineal?
So you've asked like 3 questions, and I'll try and answer them if it's okay. You asked whether the spouse or spouses have any power over the funeral arrangements or the funeral
by legal, in terms of legal means.
Legal, no. Yes, so that's what I was coming to. I mean, not that I have come to know or read about. I wasn't taught in school though. So if you're a spouse, technically you do not have any power or any authority over your spouse's body. That the one reason why I said our culture and our values to give the body automatically to the extended family, and in this case either the matrilineal or the patrilineal family upon which your spouse came from, and so you will have no input properly, so-called. The family can decide to respect your views, but they will arrange whatever they want to do. It is for the family, not for you. Once you were married, the man or the woman was yours for life. It was for life. Now there's no life in the person again, so it's not for you. Listen to the definition. It's for life. Till death do you apart. Now death has taken the body away, so you are no longer with him. The person gets back to his or her family.
Now, with that said, lawyer, help me out with this an answer to this question, because you mentioned a will along the line. Now, from what you've said, it looks as if customary law supersedes the ordinance in terms of the marriage and all that. If let's say Lumba had written a will directing what should happen upon his demise, as who should organize the funeral and everything, will the will suffice or the law suffices?
So if he had written a will like that, the will itself is also a law. So far as the will wants through all the legalities, all the legal processes, the will is also a law, because it is an act of parliament that establishes what a will is, how a will should be prepared. So if he had stated everything in his will, in practice, the will will suffice over any other customs and practices, because the will is the last statement and testament of the person's last wishes. This is how I want to be buried. This is how I want my funeral to be arranged, and blah, 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 blah. And so the families ordinarily would give respect to the person's last will and testament.
Very well, and thanks for that education. And that is one of the reasons why it's advised that many people put together a will. Now, we had the judge in ruling the matter say that the body belongs to the family and not any partner. After the ruling, we had Lumba's sister cursing and cautioning the head of family not to touch the body of Daddy Lumba. She even went on to use Otumfos in Tamkesia, and I'm told that today she's supposed to appear, at Menshare and all that. But here she is a family member, and per the law, the body belongs to the family and not a partner. She being a family member, can she then go to court and put an injunction on the funeral and the burial?
Precisely so. But the point is, you should be a principal member of the family. Please, the word is principal member. So, principal members of the family, the Busapenyi, who's the head of the family, is very powerful. So, some principal members of the family could be elders of the family. Some are elders, but they are not necessarily Busapenyi. So, you get to some families that the Busapenyi is younger than the elders in the family. I don't know if you've ever witnessed saying that the Busapenyi is younger than some elders in the family, even though the person is an Busapenyi. So these are the principal members of the family. So that Lumba's sister, stretching the argument, made not necessarily qualify as a principal member of the family. But if she has other uncles who are as old as the Bushapeni or even older than the Bushapeni, they are elders of the family and they are in charge of the funeral arrangements and its preparations. So these principal members of the family could have come together and seek an injunction in the court.
So based on this, what I wonder is then that if per law we know that the body belongs to the family, I'm wondering why the lawyer for Sewa did not advise us on same. But in all this, Lawyer Gyamfi, spouses have a role. Spouses play a role during funerals. Who determines who would do the disadia in this context? Because here we have two women married or belonging to or having had some relationship with Lumba. So who will play that role, that disadia?
Okay, before I come to that, you mentioned that in all this, why didn't the lawyer of advise her as same? The law keeps changing. I don't hold grudges against anyone. The lawyer, if you were in court or you asked your reporters, the lawyer also made forceful arguments for its motion filed. At a point when I was just nodding and saying, I mean, this is a deep research to the extent that some cases that he mentioned I've never seen before. I had to go read after the court sitting. So the lawyer for Akosua Sewa also did a fantastic job, except that when the law is not on your side, whatever you do, it will not fall for you. And the reasons for not granting the injunction were not just a single reason. I mean, a couple of reasons. You look at the judge puts all these on the table and realized that look, granting the injunction will not be justiciable. So my lady said she was not going to grant the injunction. Now back to your substantive question. So David, in an attempt to answer this question or address your question, will lead both of us and our listeners to a possible contempt of court, because the matter we are talking about is sub judice. It's before the court, and this issue or this question that you've asked is the main contention. That is the crux of the matter. So any attempt to answer anyone at all can see both of us for contempt. So I will not address the question, but I will say that the law is the law.
So from what you're saying, we all know that there's going to be a ruling as to who is a wife or otherwise on the 25th of November. That we know. But based on that, the funeral is still going to go ahead per what the ruling says. From your answer, is this to say that no wife will play that role during the funeral and burial?
The line was a bit bumpy, so if you respect.
Sure. So what I'm asking is this: I understand what you're saying, and I was saying that ruling as to who is a wife or otherwise will be done or held on the 25th of November. But as we speak, there's a go-ahead, there's a green light for the funeral and burial to take place. Based on what you're saying, is that to say or suggest that there will not be any disadia, no wife will do her customary rites during the funeral and burial?
So what we have read in the media, if it's anything to go by, and when the ruling is given on the 25th of November, as the judge said, you have about 2 weeks for the funeral, because the funeral is slated for 6th of December. Is that not so?
What it is.
And so if that is so, then from 25th November to 6th of December is 2 weeks. And anyone who gets judgment in her favor can prepare and do the widowhood rites and the CD and I'm pretty much sure that the judge put all this into consideration before fixing the dates. I was in court, I mean, the one and the day the injunction motion was moved, and the judge said that she will not sit on the matter and delay it because the matter has generated huge controversies and a lot of interest and it's become a national interest to the extent that you visit the court and you don't even have a place to sit. The court is always fully packed to its maximum level. And even outside the court premises, people are there. These your brothers and sisters are also the media all the time. And so the controversies and the media reportage around it, she will not delay. If even, and I'm here, she said that if even she has to put on hold all other cases and deal with the Lumba case swiftly so that the families will come to terms with what the position of the law is so that it will not delay anything. She is willing to do it. And so the judge put all this into consideration before pronouncing that the judgment will come out on the 25th of November to arrange or prepare as a widow to come and do your cultural and customary rights there. So it will not affect anything. Let our listeners know.
And we're certain that a ruling would be made before the burial funeral rites on the 6th. But having said that, let's dwell a bit on the marriage. Now, we all know the kinds of or types of marriages we have in Ghana, from the Mohammedan to the ordinance to the customary and all that. I have heard in certain quarters, some family members of Lumba say that they are not even aware that Lumba was married to Odobroni. Now, there are private marriages where somebody can just, invite a few friends and upon that go to AMA or KMA and sign. What do you foresee happening when they go to court on this matter as to who is the wife?
Another arena of possible contempt, but I will answer it in a way that will not seem that we are taking the work of the job of the judge. Every marriage can some marriages can be private, like you said. Let me put it that way. Especially marriage under the ordinance cap 127 can be done so privately that you can go with just your partner and then two other persons, your friends or your loved ones, even your enemies, to go and sign for you, and the marriage will still suffice as a valid marriage. That is the marriage under ordinance. If you are listening to me and you have your marriage certificate, if you're married under the ordinance, just pick the marriage certificate and read what is on it. It is not necessarily the case that you will have to come with your father or your mother, your parents, to sign for you. No, because the marriage certificate does not even recognize your parents to be signatories to the marriage certificate. It is so private that if two consenting adults decide to go and marry, they can meet any other person in the street and go with them to the marriage registrar's office and go and sign, and the marriage will be valid. But if you decide to do customary marriage is not private, because customary marriage is a union between two families. It's between David Akwete's family and the woman's family. But ordinance is between David Akwete alone and the woman alone, to the exclusion of all others. So you see the distinction now.
Yes, I do. But a question just popped up. Looking at all the legalities that we're talking about,